Hi, everybody. This is Susie Liberatore, your branding expert and art director of Visions2images. I am an art director who has invested years mastering the digital design world and was an early insider to the digital marketing space. I learned the twists and turns of exactly how to bring that physical brand presence to the online space seamless through beautiful branding design for a variety of different businesses, ranging from corporations to small businesses and even large businesses. Today, I have an amazing person that I'm sharing a story with on my podcast. Hi, everybody. It's Susie Liberatore. Today on The Branding Expert, I have Mia Francis-Poulin. She's a launch strategist and a conversion copywriter. I was on her podcast a long time ago, and her son has autism, so we kind of really connected very well together. So I'm happy to have her on today.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So tell me how you got started in this field, in this business field of world.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I have been in business for over 2 years now, a year and a half full time, and my entrance into the business world was not at all what I had planned, but I'm glad that it happened when it happened. So I was working in corporate in marketing for the last decade, really. And so I kind of done that whole thing. Like I was on that path to I'm going to become the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. That was like my whole thing. I want to be a CMO, and everything in my life was gearing me towards that. Like that was my main focus. And so when I had my first son, my special guy, he was born at 27 weeks. So that completely disrupted everything in life. I took a year break from the corporate world. We were in the hospital for most of that year, just with him getting bigger and stronger and dealing with all kinds of illnesses and stuff that kind of came along while he was in there. And even when he was first born, the talk from the doctors was, well, we're going to grow him and then get him out and then you'll be able to forget that he was a preemie and all that stuff, right? But our path wasn't like that. So when he came home, yeah, he actually had quite a bit of medical equipment. He had a trach, he was on a ventilator, he had a feeding tube, which he still has because he's autistic and he like has very many sensory sensitivities. So that whole eating thing is not a thing he really enjoys doing. But it was a very, very dramatic shift in my reality that I was dealing with this child who was medically fragile, and I had to just shift things in my brain. So this business that I'm in is actually my third business. So I had started a business before I got pregnant with him, was building that up, had a steady stable of clients. I shut that down as soon as he was born. And once we got home, I was like, all right, back to the real world, need to go back to corporate, make some money. And so I did that for a few years, but always in the back of my head, like I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, like this is what I'm built to do. This is my whole, the whole being in an office and sitting down and having to be an order taker, it just never sat well with me. Maybe that's the millennial in me. I don't know. They tell me I'm a millennial. So yeah, technically. Anyway, so I was working my way back up all the time thinking, all right, I need to form my exit plan. And so I did. I formed my exit plan, and months before that plan, you know how they say things happen in threes? Well, my first thing that happened was my firstborn was sent to the hospital via ambulance. He was septic and had a cardiac event. And so I'm like walking into a meeting, and all of a sudden I get a call from his nurse that this thing is going down. And I'm like, all right, I gotta go. And there was a lot of not understanding and pushback from that event. And so that from my employer. And so that was one thing. I was like, all right, that's another sign I gotta go. Then after that, my employer was bought out by this major conglomerate that basically changed the way that I was going to operate within my role. And they wanted me to sign all these documents, basically signing away my right to create new things that they would not own. They would own my creative intellectual property, which even inside and outside of my role, which I thought was insane. And so I was like, all right, nope, not going to do that. And then the third thing that happened was my youngest, because I had another baby to, add into the mix. My youngest was at daycare and his femur was broken in two. And it was like one of those moments where I was just like, this is insanity. This is madness. Like, how many more signs do I have to give from the universe that this is not where I need to be? I need to just take a leap and go. And so I had no real plan. At that point, I'd been building the business on the side, and I kind of had a couple of clients, but nowhere near ready to like replace my 9-to-5 income, which is what I recommend everyone does, that you at least have enough money to replace your income in the perfect world. But my world was not perfect. And I kind of had to build it as I went. And, almost 2 years later, I'm still flying. I'm still up there. So yeah, and I love what I do. I am so happy every day when I'm working with my clients and when I'm helping them use my strategy brain and my creative brain at the same time. So
yeah, that's a lot.
I know.
Heart goes to you. That's a lot. Yeah, we have pretty similar stories. I think we talked about it a lot in my podcast episode. But I mean, it's very similar. Going into corporation, going on your own, having a special needs child, going to the daycare and having all this. And like, there's just a switch that you're like, okay, I need to be a mom and have my creativity and not lose my mind and feel like I'm not doing enough and just getting a paycheck. Like, there's just so much more out there, and taking that leap is huge. So tell me, I know you do launches now and you're a content strategist and stuff. So tell me more about what you do, because I know you've shifted so much in your business.
Yeah, so I knew that when I left my job, as I'm sitting in my car, like, all right, I've just quit my job, now what? I knew that the things that I knew how to do was I knew how to write copy, because I've been doing it for the entirety of my career, and I knew how to strategize organic marketing campaigns. Like, those were the things that I knew how to do. And so when I first started out, I was just kind of this general marketing support, and it was really broad, and I attracted a lot of different types of customers and clients, which I still keep in touch with a lot of those clients now, and I still have some that are recurring clients. But I had this realization. I had a client come to me about a year ago to help specifically with her launch. And so that was a way that, obviously everyone launches new things all the time. It's kind of like a buzzword, right? Launches, like, and I feel like, I don't know if everybody's talking the same language when they're talking about a launch necessarily, but she came to me specifically for help with her launch. And so once I got into it, I realized it was the perfect situation for me, because there's specific formulas of copy that is written within your launch, specific messaging that has to go out that I've been doing throughout my corporate career. I've been working on launches and bringing new products to market. I just hadn't thought of it that way, because we called it different stuff. Like, we called it pushing the product out, and so so on the copy side, it was the perfect fit. And on the strategy side, for me, I work best on specific products, on specific projects. And so I was like, all right, this launch window is a defined amount of time, and we have high activity, and we're doing all the things, and we're being really strategic with it. And I was so energized in doing that. And now I run at least 4 launches for clients per quarter, where I'm coming up with the strategy. I'm helping them along the way with all the different 45 million parts of a launch that goes into it. And that's probably an accurate number. So, because there's lots of moving parts with the launch, but then also helping them refine their messaging and refine what's the copy need to look like on their sales pages, on their email sequences, and all those things that go along with it.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I have tried to launch things, not anything large, but I've tried to do like little passive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not been successful for it. And maybe launch is the wrong word. Like you say, maybe it's not a launch. I don't know. But launches are incredibly hard to me anyways. That's why you're good at what you do. But they're incredibly hard because you got to have the steps, right? Like, nobody wants to do the steps. They just want to launch it and make money. And that's not how it works. You have to have a plan in place. You have to have the copy. You have to have the branding. Like, you have to have the messaging. You have to have all of these things to launch successfully. And you're going to have to spend some money to have a launch first and foremost. Like, a lot of people think, oh, I can launch something without spending a dime. No, you can't. It's not going to be successful. And I learned that. But So I'm always strategic about if I want to say I'm going to launch something or sell something additional to my products. I'm always like, is it going to sell? Do I want to hire somebody to help? Like, you have to go through this mindset if you're going to launch or sell something new and figure out what you need and if you're willing to invest. And I know you do organic reaches and stuff, but sometimes people do paid Facebook ads or paid whatever, and you have to really have a budget for that. Yes. And understand. And I'm sure you have like a checklist and a standard operating procedure of how launches happen and should happen. And I mean, anybody can go and find it on Google and download it, but are they really going to do it? Right? Like, let's be honest here. Are they really going to do it themselves? So I love that you have that as a service for many people, because launch to me is like one of those words where I cringe and I'm like, nope.
Yeah, no. And I think also the biggest thing, the reason why my clients come to me is because they need the support. Because you're right, the steps of a launch, like you can Google it and you can piece it together and you can figure out what needs to come when and, you know, all that stuff. I mean, I even sell the actual launch checklists, and they're like a $27 offer. And so I have all the steps. People can buy my email sequence templates as well. So it's a thing that you can figure out. But the reason why people come to me for launch support is just for that. It's for the support. It's for someone to help lead the launch, because they're like, there's so much to do. I don't even know where I need to go with this. Like, yeah, I have these steps, but I don't really know how to make it apply to me and my life, you know, and what I'm trying to do in the business.
And it's accountability and time, right? Like, so yes. I could say I'm going to launch something, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to launch it on X date. And then X date comes and I'm like, oh, I haven't even done anything for it. Right. So one of those things where you're like, oh, I can do it myself, but I don't have the accountability, or maybe I do, and I just don't have the time to implement everything. Like, having copy and the graphics and everything created for any launch is time consuming. Let's just be honest with that. So, I mean, yeah, you might be able to do some steps, but you're still going to have a little bit of support in that sense.
For sure.
So I kind of got off on a tangent with you, but what are you like most excited about right now in your business? You might have already answered it, but I just want everybody to know.
So I am most excited about the growth that is happening in my Facebook group. So I have a Facebook group called the Launch Builder Society for Women in Business, and I love being there. I do all kinds of trainings specifically on launching, on copy, on audience building, which the building of your audience and the nurturing of your audience before a launch is absolutely the most critical element of launching anything, because that's the thing. Like, if you can launch something, but if you don't have primed people to buy, then it's not going to go as well as you want, right? You can throw as much money as you want towards Facebook ads and try to put them in a super condensed funnel, but having a warm audience, especially if you want to do primarily organic marketing for your launch, having that primed audience is absolutely critical. So I am that Facebook group is growing. I'm getting all kinds of people in there, all kinds of really smart women in business in that Facebook group. And I absolutely love showing up there. So that's what I'm most excited about. And just having more time. So I'm really big in 2020 is my year of personal development as well. And so I made it my mission. Last year, I was just such build the business mode that I did not go to, I think I went to one conference, and I was like, no, I need to do things differently this year. So I have 4 that I'm planning on going to. And so I haven't picked out all of them yet, but I know that I'm going to go to some copywriting conferences this year. I'm going to go to some women in business conferences as well this year. So I'm really excited to travel and enrich myself.
Yeah, you totally need that for sure. I am in a mastermind, and then I travel sometimes and do all sorts of different things. It's definitely great to always grow. And I love the audience thing that you're saying, because if you don't have an audience, you're not selling, right? Like, you're just not selling. So really nurturing them, you have to keep going. And your Facebook group is free, so it's foolish for nobody to join.
Yeah, exactly. You should go over there.
Yeah, totally. So my last question to you is, if somebody is starting a business and they're just getting in, like, what kind of tip, like, what's the best advice you could give somebody?
Oh man. So I would have to say to be intuitive about what it is that you really want to do in your business, because there's so many people out there, so many coaches, so many consultants who are teaching specific formulas on building businesses, specific formulas on reaching your audience and stuff like that. And while I love a good formula, I was a psych minor, and so in undergrad, and so the buyer psychology is something that I'm really like, yeah, like I love uncoding that, right? But the fact of the matter is that humans are irrational people. Like, we're irrational beings, right? We're full of paradoxes. And so having the internal wherewithal, I guess, to really dig deep and see what type of business you want to build, like knowing what the gurus say, I guess you could say with finger quotes, knowing what the gurus say, that's important. Knowing what works in business, that's important, but you also can't do stuff that you hate. Prime example, I am not on Instagram, and I have business owners every single week who are like, why are you not on Instagram? It's because I don't like Instagram. And yes, I know that it is a very, very powerful marketing tool. I advise that my clients, if that's where they want to go, that they be on Instagram, and here are some specific marketing strategies that they can use on Instagram to grow their audience and nurture them and sell. But that's not for me. I'm not on Instagram, and that's just the reality of it. And so I made a conscious decision that I wasn't going to do stuff that I didn't like, and that was draining on me and didn't fill me with joy. And maybe one day I might get back on Instagram, but as of right now, it's not in the cards. So you got to be able to look at how you want your business to operate.
Yeah, and as people start to get into business or think about business, they obviously have to think about all these decisions. And even the very basic of figuring out what you love and you're passionate about and putting it into a business and a profit. Like, yeah, you might like this or whatever, but what really lights you up and drives you is really figuring that out and then implementing it. And it's funny you're talking about Instagram, because I haven't posted on Instagram in like 5-6 days, and that's a lot for me, but I'm like kind of exhausted of it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And even Pinterest, like I deleted my Pinterest accounts. I had 2 accounts, one for branding and then one for my personal. And I was like, I'm not even getting any traction from it. Like, no sales are coming from it. Why am I on it? Why am I wasting time and money? I stopped that. Even Twitter, like I do post a little bit just because I have my scheduler. So sometimes I post on Twitter, but really, like, I've never logged into Twitter and like replied to tweets or anything like that. Like I just want to delete the account. But it's one of those things, like, you have to overcome it in your mind, right? Like, say, okay, I'm going to delete Twitter and be done, and that's just the reality of it. But Instagram, like, I didn't even do Instagram stories for like 5 days. I just felt like I had to focus on other work. You know what I mean? It's fun to do. It's good to do. It's okay. But the reality is, at the end of the day, as my sales coach always says, is it making you money? If it's not making you money, let it go.
Right. And on the other side of that, I've also decided to go all in on my Facebook group. So I show up in my Facebook group. Like, that is my main place, my Facebook group and my email list. And so I'm going further into the things that I do enjoy doing and making more room for that by not doing things and taking my time up with stuff that just makes me want to, like, roll my eyes at myself, like, ugh, I hate it. So.
Right. And if it's not going to be good quality, then it's not going to bring you in leads, essentially. It's not worth it for you to do it. Totally.
Exactly.
I love that. Yep. All right. Do you have anything else you want to share?
No, I would love for anybody who's listening, if they would like to get strategies and tips and community as they're building out their launches, and they want to know about audience building, they want to know about launch strategy and copywriting, then hop on over to my Facebook group. Like, that is the place. It's called the Launch Builder Society for Women in Business. So it's a really great place to be.
Awesome. Yep. And we'll drop a link in the comments, and they can either join your group or get you on your website, whatever you decide.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.